females, this is your boy Costa, your host for the evening. Behind me is Thomas Cub's house. Today is Thomas Cub's birthday, and this is Project X. Yo.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Out of My Mind, the podcast to declutter the mind and be good for the soul. I'm your host like every night, Miss Kathy. I know, I'm back again. You missed me? So on this eps number 5, I will be discussing more mental health, just because recently, unfortunately, we did have Angus Cloud pass away. He is the guy from Euphoria. He played Fez in the show, and he was somebody that a lot of people could just relate to, and he was such, I mean, I don't know him personally, but from the interviews that I've seen and, you know, what other people posted about him, it seems like he was a very happy soul, and from what everybody is explaining about his situation, he unfortunately did have his father pass away, and they were really close, so that really declined his mental health and just made him more depressed, and he did battle with, you know, addictions, and, you know, you never know what somebody else is going through behind closed doors, because from what it seemed like he went to work and he wanted to help other people out, and he wanted to be the giver, and he wanted to go out and help everybody else when he was battling with his own things. So with that being said, if you or a loved one are struggling with mental health, please visit Psychology Today or go to your nearest hospital or emergency room or anything like that to be able to get psychological evaluation, to get yourself some help as soon as possible. Mental health has been a topic that a lot of people don't touch on. It never just starts with you. It's definitely either stuff that you've been through, your environment of which you've adapted to, and everything else that comes with you growing up and being an individual in this day and age and now. There's a lot of things that can affect your mental health, and even if you don't believe that you do have something wrong, it's not always a bad thing to go get checked out. It's always something good to be able to know that mental health isn't something negative. You're not a horrible person. You don't have anything specifically wrong with you, that you were created wrong. It's just a lot of people don't know how to delegate through everyday life situations, and other people do need that extra oomph or do need that extra help to be able to get by. I did want to go ahead and make this episode something that I've never talked about in a while. Actually, I've never talked about it out loud to anybody. Years ago, I unfortunately became very ill, and I dealt with a lot of health conditions, and it was a very scary thing to go through at the age of 14, maybe all the way up to age 18. I was still battling with a lot of health conditions. It became apparent to me that I wasn't taking care of myself mentally, and my body was rejecting everything that I was putting into it, and I was just trying to cope with everything that I went through and all the trauma that I endured, that I was just trying to maneuver my own way and figure it out. But if your mind isn't right, your body is going to keep shutting down and getting rejected from everything in life, just because the brain really holds mostly everything for you to function correctly. So if that is going horrible, basically you will be horrible, if you want me to put it bluntly as that. So a lot of the times that I was going to hospitals and I was going to doctor's appointments and I was doing a lot of the things that children my age weren't really doing, I took that as a time to reflect and kind of understand why I was put on this path, specifically with depression heavily. It's something that I don't really openly talk about with a lot of people. I mean, if you are close to me, you do know that I have very bad days, and when my days are very bad, I don't want to do a lot of things. And that happens. If you feel like that and you can relate, I definitely understand. Sometimes I don't want to get up, I don't want to go to work, I don't want to do anything, I don't want to see anybody. anybody. I don't want to talk. I don't want to answer the phone. It takes a lot for me to do a lot of things if I am down and out and I don't feel like getting up and doing it every single day. It takes a lot for me to actually be vulnerable enough to share this experience because I'm very closed off with a lot of situations, but just due to Angus Cloud's passing, it made me realize that there was a lot of people that don't know about a lot of people's other stories that they can possibly relate to. So here's mine. I dealt with a lot of trauma as a child. Growing up in a dysfunctional but loving household was very confusing at a very young age. Trying to go through the works while other children your age are not having to go through what you're going through. It takes a lot out of you because you're adapting to each environment that you're in. So if I was at home, I acted a certain way, and if I was at school, I acted another way. So it always felt like I was always living two different lives at a time. I'm not ashamed of anything that I went through or embarrassed at all. But it's, of course, not everybody's business, the details that I endured as a child, but that's for my therapist. But I felt like growing up, it was something after another, after another, after another. And when I did get to the age where I could fully understand and kind of take control over my life, that's when I hit that age of 14, 15, and at that time, deficiency issue. So I was not able to do a lot of the things that a normal child could do, as in go outside, play, go to PE class. I had like a 504 plan in school secretly, like nobody knew about it. And I was excused out of a lot of things that a lot of kids could do just because of my condition. A lot of the things that I did go through were in my head, and I didn't really discuss with any of my family what I felt like growing up. I was always very the happy child, and I've always wanted to go out and have friends and make everybody else around me very happy and make sure everybody was having a good time. And when I had a moment, even as a child, I used to go cry in my room if I got in trouble for something and not really tell anybody, or go by myself somewhere, walk to the park or walk outside just to get a breath of fresh air, just so I can get myself together and then go out and go ahead and help everybody. So I felt like when I was going through all those stages in my life, I felt very alone. I felt like even though I was surrounded by all these people, that nobody knew in my head what was going on an every day-to-day basis. And every time I did get sick, or I was returned back to the hospital, or I did have to get an ambulance ride, or I had another doctor's appointment to go to, so I had to miss school, or I had to miss this event because I was too sick to go, and all these other circumstances, like, it was heavy on me, and I became very depressed. I lost a lot of weight. I was not eating correctly. I was not taking care of myself. So I ended up it was a roller coaster constantly. One day I could be very good. The next day I was really down. The next day I could be good for 3 days, and the other 2 days out of the week I was feeling like shit. So it was really just depending on the day. Now that I am at the age that I am, and I look back on everything that did happen to me, I am very grateful for what I was put through in life. Like I stated before, I am not embarrassed, nor am I ashamed of anything that I've went through. Everything that I went through kind of made me who I am today, this fun, catchy person. But yeah, I was in and out of hospitals, constantly sick. My mom would try her best to take care of me at home because she knew how afraid I was of going to the doctors or the hospitals or anything else. So my mom was like my own personal nurse. Shout out to you, girl. Love ya. But being in those situations and feeling like you're a burden to people just because of my health conditions and just because the way I lived life. I still, of course, was a child, so I still wanted to go out, have fun, do all these great, amazing things, but my depression was just getting to me like every day. Like, I would get really, really sick, and I would just get really sad, and I would just cry all day. or I would just not want to go anywhere or do anything, so I would just cuddle up on the couch for hours and not talk to anybody, see anybody, do anything. And I realized that that wasn't the correct way to go about things. I was too afraid to ask for help because I was already feeling like a burden on everybody that I was around, that if I asked for more help, I just felt like it was making me more weaker, so I kind of just took care of myself, and that's what's not to do. Don't do that at all, because it was definitely a battle to get out of that situation, because some days I didn't want to take care of myself. I didn't want to take a shower, I didn't want to go brush my teeth, I didn't want to get out of bed, I didn't want to brush my hair, I didn't want to do a goddamn thing. But now that I am at the position that I am at, and I can reflect back on the situations that I've been through and understand that like that was meant to happen, hide it as much as I did and try to make it seem like I was always happy and I was always this and I was always that, but realistically, like, my mind was shutting down on me like every other day, and after I got overwhelmed, I just cried for hours. I would cry all the time. I mean, I still cry. I enjoy crying. It's a good way to get out your emotions, so if you need to cry, do it. Feel it. Enjoy it. That's just what is supposed to happen. If you feel mad, if you feel upset, if you feel any type of emotions, don't try to mask it with drinking or smoking or anything else that is going to take away that pain, because the more that you feel it and the more raw and more natural it gets to you, the more that you're going to be able to understand and kind of figure out your own triggers and kind of know that, like, hey, I need to put a boundary down for this because it triggers my depression and I can't do it and I can't deal with that and I don't want to deal with that. If that means cutting off people, if that means switching up your routines, if that means taking some time to yourself, even if that's an hour a day, to just cut off everybody, no matter who it is, and just be by yourself, then that's what you have to do. So really take that in mind and consideration. Depression is just you battling yourself. You're giving yourself so much self-doubt, so that's when the negative thoughts come in. That's when you just feel that it's just like a dark cloud just kind of just all over you. Yourself in that position of that your body's getting triggered by something, the first thing that you can do is just step back and be like, hey, I need a minute, I need a moment to reflect on the situation. Even if you wake up and you're just like not in the mood to deal with anybody, like take 20 minutes or just not even 20 minutes, like 30 seconds if you will, and breathe. That's all you have to do. I know that sounds like breathe, that's what you came up with, girl, after that whole spiel that you just said, you want everybody to just breathe. No, but what I mean by breathe is like really take a second in silence and just take a deep breath in. And like you can't like do it like just like okay, I'm good. Like no, you really like need to feel it in your stomach. I learned this from one of my therapist friends that I know. Shout out to Miss Sherry. When you really feel it, like the deep breath in, and you hold that for 5 seconds and you do it back out, trust and believe you will feel like a different shift in your body. Now do that every single day or every time that you feel out of it or you feel like, oh God, like I don't want to get out of bed. Like no, don't even tell yourself anything. Like literally just breathe, literally. And then after that, clear your conscious, get up, go to the mirror, say like 2 affirmations. Don't like go ham and like start yelling at yourself in the mirror, because that is, I mean, if that works for you, cool, but like that doesn't work for me, so I don't do that. But I do write affirmations down as much as I can. Even if I wasn't sick and I was just depressed, I would just like sit for hours and not do anything. I wouldn't go anywhere, I wouldn't get dressed, I wouldn't do anything. I was just like completely out of it. I was just like, what am I doing and why do I care for doing it anyways? There's nothing that could, well, what I thought, there was nothing that could fix me in the moment. I felt unfixable. With that being said, suicide and the crisis hotline, if you ever need to call or text it, it is 988, or you can chat with 988lifeline.org. It is free, so you can text it, call it, email it, whatever you would prefer. just to be able to speak to somebody if you or a loved one is in crisis or does feel those negative thoughts at times. Please reach out. Please try and get help. Even if you feel like it shows a sign of weakness, it's not. Asking for help actually makes you feel good, and it actually makes you look very strong, because the more that you vocalize what you're going through and the more that you do talk about, hey, I'm not okay, or hey, I do need help, the more experiences of life that you will endure, because once you get over that phase, then a new chapter opens up for you, and you just feel more empowered to take on the world, because you're like, hey, if I never asked for help, I would have probably been a bum. I would have probably never got the correct help that I needed. I would have never succeeded as much as I did. I never would have seen all these places that I've been to, or I never would have done a lot of the things that I've done. So a lot of depression symptoms, you're feeling sad or have a depressed type of mood, loss of interest and pleasures and activities you once enjoyed. So like I used to, when I do get depressed, I won't listen to music. Music is everything to me. So if I'm very sad and I'm out of it, I will literally not listen to music, because music makes me happy and I'm not happy. So like, why would I listen to music? I'm so sad and I don't even want to do this. Like I don't even want to hear people talk half of the time. Changes in appetite, weight loss. So my weight was fluctuating. I was actually underweight for a while, and then I would eat, and then I would gain a lot of weight, and then I would lose it drastically. It was just like, my weight has always fluctuated, but I've always been like very slim. But like, there's a certain extent to slim, ladies. You don't always have to look all fucking great and nice all the time, and your body doesn't always have to be fucking on 1,000, because if anybody knows about body dysmorphia, it is this queen right here. Because I could be at my prime time in my body change, and I could think I'm the fattest person in the world, and I could be the skinniest, and I could think that's like okay to do, and everybody's around me is like, are you okay? You lost a lot of weight. And I'm like, oh yeah, I feel great, I feel good, and the whole time I'm underweight. So yeah, please always keep up with your weight, and please keep up with eating and trying at least, even if it's something small, because I've always dealt with an eating situation. I wouldn't call it an eating disorder because I enjoy eating, so like, it's not it's just my brain sometimes has its moments where it tells my body like, hey, you have no fucking appetite, and guess what? That's my depression kicking in. So you have difficulty thinking or concentrating or making decisions. You either have trouble sleeping, or you're sleeping too much, and you really have like a loss of energy, and you feel like really just like all the time. Like you don't feel like yourself. That's exactly what I mean. Depression actually affects an estimated of 1 in 15 adults, so that is 6.7% any given year. And 1 in 6 people, which is 16.6%, will experience depression at some time in their life. So depression can occur at any time, but on average first appears during the late teens to the mid-20s. So if you are in your teens or mid-20s and you do feel like you are very sad and you're like, nah, it's just a phase, I'm gonna get over it. No, it is not a phase, and there's something obviously going on with you that you need to deal with in the moment. So that suicide has been on the rise since COVID. So with that being said, we can all help each other. There is not one person in this world, unless you're the devil himself, that can't help anybody. If you don't want to help people, it's just because you're a selfish human being and you choose to not help people. Even if it's just saying hi to somebody or telling them, hey, I hope you have a wonderful day, or any kind of circumstances. Even checking on your loved ones, or just sending out a text to that one person that you've been thinking about for a while and you don't know what's going on with them and you haven't heard from them. Send that text. Call that person. Make sure that you don't one day die, or that other person dies, and you guys will never come back from that. And I know it's better, easier said than done, because I have an ego up the fucking ass. And sometimes I be thinking like, oh damn, I want to reach out to this person, and I don't, and I'm like, oh whatever. But then I also have that guilty side where I am like, damn, like what if something does happen? And women are more likely than men to experience depression. So when guys usually ask me, or my guy friends, they be like, Kathy, you're still crying about that? Like, get over it. Like, oh my god. I'm like, dude, like, come on. Like, slow your roll. Like, I deal with, and then that's when I had to explain to, like, my friends currently now, like, I deal with depression a lot, so I'm very sad at times, I cry a lot, I'm just everywhere with my emotions, it is up and down, full scale, all the way around, and me and my friend, always joke around. She's like, one day we met up for coffee, and she was just like, I was telling her catching her up on my life, and she goes, that sounds like depression. And she's a therapist, by the way, so we were just sitting there laughing, because we were just like, sounds like our life is going to shits, but all we can do is laugh, because, like, what are we gonna do? Cry about it? We cry every other day, the only thing we can think about is just to laugh, because, like, shit's hard. Life has been lifing. Life has been throwing so many fucking punches recently. I'm just like, bro, can you stop? Can you just stop, please? Like, for 2 seconds. I would appreciate a breather, Jesus, sometimes, but no. And also, some studies show that 1/3 of women will experience a major depressive episode in their lifetime. There's a high degree of approximately 40% when first-degree relatives, parents, children, and siblings have depression. So, hereditary, you can also possibly get that from if your family has a background of mental health issues, or if you ever heard anybody in your family like, oh, overdose, has addiction, substance abuse, anything like that, please go get checked out, and please go look for help, because even though you might not think like, oh, my mom had this or my grandma had this, so it doesn't affect me, like, realistically, people, this shit is like deeper than you guys could possibly think. And depression can show up in very many forms. Like I stated, Mac Miller, shout out to him. He's actually behind me because I very much love him. He was somebody that was very happy all the time. He showed love when he did. Everybody knew, though, that Mac Miller had mental health issues. Mac Miller was a substance abuser. He was an addict. He dealt with depression, anxiety. He was just doing drugs constantly all the time to take away his pain. But he was still happy. He was still trying to enjoy life. If you listen to his songs, it's literally a cry out for help, and nobody wanted to help him until it was the last moment. And possibly my favorite saying is a Drake song, people never care until it's R.I.P. Yeah, because that's realistically weird. Nobody ever cares until something happens to somebody, and then everybody wants to make a big deal about it. Everybody wants to talk about it, and it has to be a big deal. Like, I've dealt, and I know people in my life that's dealt with mental health issues, and it's only like a couple of people you're able to talk to this situation about and be like, oh yeah, like I deal with, like, you know, depression or anxiety or anything like that. Some people are just like, oh, and they just look at you like you're weird, like you're a fucking alien, like you just came off a UFO and you just plopped down on Earth. Or some people have that sympathy side of them, and sympathetic, that's what I meant, I don't know, I'm on a brain fart. Sympathetic side to them, and they can sit down and have a conversation with you and try to talk to you. They don't have to be a therapist. It could be your friend. It could be anybody. It's just depending on who you share your situation with. Don't ever feel like you're odd, because you can't control other people's reactions. All you can control is what you do and what you say. So if you feel like you're sharing to somebody and they give you a weird reaction, don't feel like you have to go back in your shell and be like, oh my god, I will never share that ever again. No, fuck that person for their reaction, because they should have never acted like that. Now, take that, know that you can't share a lot of things with that person, and move on and be like, you know what, that person, I just can't share that information with them. But next time, if I do meet somebody else, maybe you'll have another friend and you tell them, hey, like, I am dealing with mental health issues or this, that, and other stuff. You can be able to go and talk to that one person and just vent to them. Not even vent, just have a simple conversation like, hey, I'm having a shitty day. Oh, cool. That sucks. Do you want to talk about it? No, not really. Can we just sit in silence? I've done that so many times where friends have come over to check on me and they're like, hey, like, are you doing good? And I'm like, honestly, no. But can we just, like, sit and watch a movie and, like, not talk for, like, a couple hours, and then maybe I'll talk about it? But, like, other than that, like, nah, I don't really want to say nothing. Like, I just want to genuinely have somebody that has that good energy about them that just makes me feel calm and makes me feel like, you know what, I don't really have to say much, but I know they're not judging me. Like, I know that they love me and they care for me, so I know I don't have to say much for them to be able to care for me. Like, it's just like a quick, like, hey, you good? No, I'm not. Do you want to talk about it? No, I really don't. Okay, well, I'm going to sit here and sit in silence until you're ready to talk about it. And that's what a friend should do. Don't ever feel like you're judged or feeling like you're in competition or feeling like you need to be this type of different person, because if you're feeling like that, get out of that friendship or relationship or any situationship that you have going on. Get out of there if you feel like that, because that person has no right to judge you, no right to take anything away from you. If you feel like you want to be sad for 24 hours, go ahead, be sad for 24 hours. But then tomorrow, try again. And keep trying again. And as long as you keep trying, you really can't fail. Because as long as you keep going and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, we all have things that we have going on in our lives. We all go through shit. And if you keep dwelling on the past and you keep dwelling on the situations and you keep dwelling and sitting there and being sad, you're never going to get out of there, and you're never going to get out of that funk, and you're just going to continue to wallow and self-pity your own self and just be in that bubble where you feel like the world's against you. And that's when you start making situations rough for yourself, because like I said, you can control yourself, not what other people do. But if you are reflecting and you're doing all this other stuff, you're going about shit the wrong way, dude. So for depression, there are actually a number of things that can help reduce the symptoms. For many people, that's regular exercise. So I notice a lot of people either go to the gym, they go running, they play a sport of some sort or anything like that to release that feeling of being sad, because it does bring them into a positive mood. It does improvise their mood. It makes them feel better. It gets their blood flowing. It makes them feel like, okay, like I did this, so I feel good about myself now. Like we're pushing through. Getting enough quality sleep on a regular basis is key, because one thing that I love, I think it was Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey actually has a video, and
Depression is your body saying, fuck you, I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to hold up this avatar that you've created. It's too much for me. You should think of the word depressed as deep rest. Deep rest. Your body needs to be depressed. It needs deep rest from the character that you've been trying to play.
Throughout life. So if you're not getting the right amount of sleep, you are not being able to function correctly like a normal human being would, because your brain is drying out of power and your body is shutting down. So when you're feeling very depressed, that means your body is telling you, like, get me out of this feeling and like put your body to rest, because you can't keep going. You can't. Like, no matter, I'm a fighter, dude, and I fight until I can't anymore. Not like physically fight people, but like I'm a fighter metaphorically. Like I will fight and fight and fight until I can't anymore. And I realized once I kept putting my body through a lot of things, and once I kept fighting, I kept doing stuff, and I noticed when I started getting sick that I was doing a whole bunch of things that were leading me up to me ending up hospitalized, or me ending up in an ambulance, or me ending up very sick, was because I wasn't giving myself rest. I wasn't giving myself that time to heal. I wasn't giving my body what it needed, and I was just ignoring it. So if your body is telling you something, fucking listen to it. Absolutely fucking listen to it. Don't listen to anything else but what's in here and what your body is telling you. So if your body is telling you, like, yo, get me the fuck out of here, get your body the fuck out of there and go home and lay down and take a second and just breathe. That's what I'm gonna say. Eating a healthy diet, and you are just killing your brain, you are killing yourself, you are not actually helping the situation, you are 100% making it worse on your own self. And like I said, the only person that can change you is you. So depression is a real illness, and if people don't actually, how do I word this? If people don't actually get their fucking head out of their asses and realize that every human being on this planet has some type of issue, I guess you can say. I was trying to find another word for it, but issue or any circumstances going on in their life, no matter if it's a celebrity, no matter it's a millionaire, no matter it's the most people with the most money are realistically the most saddest people. They have all this money in the world and they're still not satisfied. I've never met one person that is satisfied with life completely. Like, if you tell me you're satisfied with life, you're gonna tell me minutes later that there's something else you're gonna be complaining about, whether it's a relationship, whether you could tell me like, oh my god, I'm so happy with life and everything is so enjoyable and everything like that, but like me and this kid or me and this girl, we broke up and we don't talk, or me and my family member like fell out, blah, blah, blah. So no, that is, you're not satisfied then, because you're still talking about that situation and you're not over it. So until you are actually over it and actually satisfied completely, mentally, physically, emotionally, everything like that, and you are content with the way that your life is, you'll never be satisfied. Because people are never satisfied. People always want more out of life. People itch for more out of life. That's actually, a lot of people can get over depression. You can and you will overcome it. You can either get on meds, you can go to hypnosis therapy, you can go to CBT on a regular basis. You really just need to take control and get help, and you can also self-help as much as you are willing to be able to fix yourself if you don't want to go talk to people, and that's totally understandable. A lot of people don't trust therapists. A lot of people say that, you know, therapy, I've heard a couple bad things. That's totally understandable, but you also have another outlet to help yourself. My next topic that I would want to talk about is going to be anxiety. I know I brought it up a little bit in the beginning, but anxiety and panic attacks, two things that I've dealt with my entire fucking life. Panic attacks, I started to have them maybe when I was, maybe it was like 8, possibly. When I get very sick, I get very overwhelmed, I start hyperventilating, and my mind just completely shuts off. I can't hear anybody or can't see anybody. Well, it feels like I can't see anybody, but my eyes are completely open. But having a panic attack is no fucking joke. How you can feel that you're having one, I'm literally going to tell you right now. I have notes on this, because I low-key like wrote down every single thing I felt about having a panic attack, because I was just like, I bet you 100% people don't know that they're having a panic attack, and they're 100% having one, and they don't even know. They're just like, oh, I'm just hyperventilating, that's it, I'm gonna get over it. No, so during my panic attacks, I usually feel like my heart fucking racing. I feel very lightheaded. It's like very hot and cold feeling. Like I feel like one minute I'm like there and then I'm not at the same time. Usually my hands clamp up a lot and I feel really nauseous. I start like, I have to like sit down on the floor somewhere. I have to like catch myself to like sit myself down. I struggle with breathing. I have to like hold my chest because recently I've had a lot. So dealing with them on your own without anybody around you, it's a scary feeling, but it also centers you because you realize that you can control what your thoughts are and how you're feeling in the moment. So I had one maybe a week or 2 ago, I think, and it was bad. It was before I had to go to work, and I woke up and I was not feeling the day. I was not happy to be awake, so let's just say that. And I just felt my heart racing. I just felt like I couldn't control myself, and I just had to like sit down, and I was just hysterically crying, and I was just like, oh my god, what am I doing, oh my god. But then I remembered, like, okay, you have to take a second. And you're freaking out, so you're telling yourself like you're freaking out, but then there's also a little me going like, hey, take a second, and it's like 2 of my worst fears happening at once. You can always manage them. I've managed them my whole life. Usually what triggered my panic attacks was when I got sick. Now that I am older, I get triggered by fucking bills and everything else that falls on my lap. So panic attacks are like normal in my everyday life. So what I usually do is I focus really much on my breathing. I try to sit in a spot, or I stand in a spot where I'm not like, don't feel like I'm a faint, but I'm also gonna feel like I can actually like look myself in the mirror and like, hey, you need to calm down type of situation. You can focus on your senses, like, so people like usually smelling like mint or like lavender or a certain smell that calms them down. Or you can try definitely after you have a panic attack, I would highly recommend having self-care day or taking a day off of work after, and then tell somebody. If you're able to tell somebody, that can either help you, or you can call on them whenever you do feel like you're about to have one, so they can be aware, like when you do have one, that they can calm you down in that situation. But like my brain was always going, when I felt my anxiety kicking in, I always felt like my brain was going into like that fight or flight mode, where I was just like, oh my god, what am I doing? So usually it's not called fight or flight mode, it's originally called fight, flight, or freeze. And basically it's a way for us to protect ourselves, just like animals, I guess, or predators out in the world, they also have that, just like we do. So we try to protect ourselves from danger, so we feel less of a threat to our bodies. So it's like you feel like an adrenaline rush. That's because your brain, like, I forgot what it's called, but it's in the back of your head. It kind of triggers and alerts everything to the frontal lobe to kind of tell you, like, hey, your body, you're feeling like something's about to happen, or like you're noticing like you're in danger, so like what are you gonna do? So your brain is kind of like, oh my god, figure it out. They definitely make us feel more alert, so we can act a little bit faster, so we can, if somebody's like trying to do something, or we feel like we're not safe in a predicament, we automatically think of the next step to do. It definitely makes our heart go like 10 miles per hour, because you're hearing yourself basically go into panic attack mode, but your brain is also telling you, like, you can either fucking fail right now, or you can fight your way out of this. So like, you basically have to make a choice on your own, depending on how you are. That's kind of how your body is going to react on its own. Anxiety definitely comes into play whenever you feel worried or tense or afraid. So that's when that fight or flight or freeze mode comes in. So your anxiety is getting triggered, and you feel like, oh my god, I'm so scared. I'm literally panicking. So like all of like the panic attacks, anxiety, and your fight, like all of this is working as like one big shield for you to like protect yourself. And you're thinking about what could happen, what would happen, what had happened, anything in the moment. It's a natural human response. Anytime anybody feels anything under threat, or you feel like you're in danger, you're gonna feel anxiety. Everybody feels it, and if you say that you don't, you're lying to yourself. So yeah, most people feel anxious at times. It's particularly common to experience some anxiety while coping with stressful events or changes, especially if they can impact your life drastically. So like when I was going through all my hospital visits, and I was getting sick, and I was getting diagnosed with all this stuff, it was like, oh my god, my brain was like, oh my god, what are you gonna do next? Like, are you gonna tell anybody? Are you not gonna tell anybody? Like, what's gonna happen? Are you okay? Are you a burden to anybody? Should you just like figure this shit out on your own? Should you tell anybody? Like, it was just like a whole bunch of things going on in my head all at once. It was just a lot. I feel like a lot of people think that the mind is just like, oh, like people always ask me, like, why'd you call it out of my mind? Because I literally fucking am out of my mind like half of the time. Literally I am. Like majority of the time, I'm probably out of my fucking mind trying to deal with shit. And the funny thing is that like, from seeing where I was a year ago, 2 years ago, even 5, 6 years ago, and just to see who I am now, and how control I have over my own life, and just seeing how far I came, I'd be like, damn girl, like, you're low-key the shit, keep it up. But sometimes I also feel like, no girl, you could be doing more. Like, you could be doing so much more for yourself. But like, and then I think about it like, how much more could I be doing for myself? So I've always had that like yin and yang to my own self, where I'm always like, oh, you could be doing this, oh, but you're also doing this. So it was always like back and forth with a lot of situations. And I also feel like, as a young adult, you can say, or for my generation, I can only speak for my generation. And when I talk about my generation, I think about a whole bunch of people. Like, a whole bunch of people just flood into my mind when I like talk about our generation, because I know there's many people my age out there that are feeling like shit. They feel like they don't know where they're going. Fuck, we're like 21, in our 20s. A couple years ago, we were all just graduating from high school. We were all just trying to figure out like, oh my god, we're all gonna go to college. We're all gonna do all this amazing stuff. Half of us didn't go to college. Half of us are working a 9 to 5 right now just to make ends meet. Some of us are away at universities, which is congratulations to you. You're able to accomplish that, do that. Some people are just living, literally, like just living, not doing anything, not working, not anything, just fucking living. So I feel like it was always a mixed emotions with a lot of the people that I grew up with, because I was just like, damn, like, maybe like people my age are not going through this, but definitely when I got older, I realized that like everybody that I knew or I surrounded myself around, there was a reason why they were around me, is because we could relate on a lot of situations that, even though it wasn't like the exact same situation, it was relatable in the sense that they could understand how I was feeling. So when I say like everybody goes through shit, I wholeheartedly mean like everybody is going through something right now. And there is no reason for anybody to be so cruel and rude and just so negative. If you have any of those type of people around you, please remove them from your life, because if you want to be negative, you don't want to start new experiences, and you don't want to be better for yourself and for your friends or for your family or for anybody that you surround yourself around, then you should just go be by yourself, and you should just go sit with a negative group of people. Because if you are being that selfish to not understand that there's so many other people in the world and you're not the only one that is going through something, then you really need to reflect back on your life and understand that you need a wake-up call. Because I used to be that girl that was just like, oh, I'm only going through this, nobody else can understand me, I'm this strong woman, I'm doing all this by myself, blah blah blah. But then I like did a whole bunch of like research, and I've been like just reading books and like just going through, literally my spiritual journey has been crazy. Like, it has been a whirlwind continuously. But I am realizing that it takes a lot for somebody to understand what they're going through and to take accountability for what they did go through, because for a lot of the years I did hide the fact that I was sick for a while, and I was trying to hang out with my friends still. I was trying to act like I was okay. I was trying to act like everything was fine, and then every time that I cut my friends off and I stopped talking to them, or I threw myself into a new relationship, I just knew that I wasn't healing myself. I was just occupying my time with other things, and I wasn't trying to find answers within myself and trying to find that self-help. I was kind of just throwing myself into different predicaments to get to that point of, oh yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm hanging out with my friends, I'm fine. Oh, I'm with my boyfriend, I'm fine. Oh, I'm with my mom, I'm with my siblings, I'm with this person, I'm with, oh, so I'm good. But when I really got alone and I was by myself, I was like, wait, hold on. This shit is scary. I'm not good. Chill out. And mental health and what really goes behind closed doors, because you see those movies where they make like scary movie and they fucking like do like a crazy hospital and there's like patients running around everywhere and people are going nuts and crazy and trying to kill each other and blah 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 and this that. It's nothing like that. If there's one movie I could tell people to watch, it is called Girl Interrupted. It has Winona Ryder, it has Angelina Jolie as the two main characters. It is based off a book. It is the most famous memoirs of hospitalization and mental illness that has been written. Suzanne Kaizen was actually admitted to a voluntary psychiatric patient 1967, my bad, at the age of 18. So she wrote about her experience in Girl Interrupted. Girl Interrupted is on Netflix. It is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. It originally came out in the 2000s. I watched it probably when I was like 14, 15 maybe, and I first saw it, and after that I like held on to this movie because I love Winona Ryder. She's a gem in this life, and Angelina Jolie is too as well. So it's 1960s. It's Suzanne Kaizen, a young woman, finds herself as a re-owned mental institution for troubled young women, where she chooses between the world of the people and who belongs on the inside, like the seductive and dangerous Lisa, who's played by Angelina Jolie, or the often difficult world of reality on the outside. So she notices that Lisa keeps going back into the facility constantly. She's always there. She continuously comes and goes. Everybody knows her by her first name. She already knows what she has to do when she gets in there. She's a regular patient there. And for her, she's just now starting this because of a situation that happened to her. So now she's going to this facility. She's realizing that, like, oh my God, like, I'm not, am I that crazy or am I not that crazy? Like, it was like a moment where she like realized that, like, here's this girl on this level, but I see another girl that's like semi on my level, but not really. And she's like just looking around trying to figure out, like, do I belong here or do I belong outside of the world? Because I believe the world's crazy, but here, 10 times more crazy. So I would highly recommend. Oh, and it also has Brittany Murphy in it. She plays Daisy. She is one of also the other girls in the movie. I'm not gonna like get too detailed into it because I don't want to give any spoilers away. So if you do want to watch it, I would highly recommend that movie. Another movie that I would highly recommend watching is Inception. Another one of my favorite movies. Inception has Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who plays Arthur. The guy from the Oppenheimer's in here as well, which is a new movie that just came out. Tom Hardy's in this movie. Elliot Page, who plays in Juno, if you've ever seen that movie as well. Inception is a sci-fi movie, but it's also action. It is 2 hours long, but it's the best 2 hours you could ever fucking watch, ever. So basically it's about a thief with a rare ability to enter people's dreams. He steals their secrets from their subconsciouses, so he's able to get into somebody's mind and kind of like fuck around with what their dreams are and kind of like figure out what they're thinking about, what they're dreaming about, and what they're doing. His skill has made him a hot commodity in the world for corporate espionage, but also cost him everyone he loves. So unfortunately, he did have somebody pass away, his wife, his children, everything like that, to be able to do what he does. When he is offered a seemingly impossible task, plant an idea in someone's mind. If he succeeds, it will be the perfect crime, but a dangerous enemy anticipates Cobb's every move. So that movie is very, very good if you ever wanted like a movie like that's like mind fucking and mind bending. That's actually very great. Shutter Island is another great movie to watch with Leonardo DiCaprio in it. Shutter Island is also another mental health movie. It is the escape of the murderous Marshall Daniels and his new partner in the hospital. Is a fortress of an insane asylum located on a remote island. The woman that has appeared to vanish from a locked room, and then there's a hint of terrible deeds committed within the hospital walls. As the investigation deepens, Teddy realizes that he will have to confront his own dark fears if he hopes to make it off the island alive. So that is another one about a mental health facility. It's a psychological thriller. It very much teaches you that the mind is something not to be fucked with. That you could think that you're doing one thing and you are absolutely not. So I would highly recommend watching Shutter Island as well. That is another great movie to watch. And another show actually, and book that I actually have, I own. I don't know where it's at, but it's called Stutz. It is a film by Jonah Hill. I know Jonah Hill has a lot of fucking backlash going on right now for his situation, but Jonah Hill has been one of my favorite directors, writers, just all around amazing actor. Like, I love anything that Jonah Hill and Seth Rogen are in. They're my fucking dads, if I could put it that way. Stutz is a movie, well, I wouldn't say movie, it's more like a documentary, if you will. It's basically Jonah Hill's psychiatrist speaking to Jonah Hill, but Jonah Hill's making the movie about his psychiatrist and why he's in the field that he's in. So I would highly recommend watching Stutz. It explores his early life and experience of a visual model of therapy as well. There's a lot of notes that I've taken on that, so I would recommend watching it, sitting down, taking as many notes as you can, because he goes over amazing ways that you can actually cope with your mental health, and he kind of teaches you what he taught Jonah Hill and how Jonah Hill was able to understand his trauma as a child superstar, also understand his weight gain that he had and losing it, relationships. There's a lot of good key things that you can learn from that as well. So I highly recommend watching that for anybody. It's not easy to get up every day. It's not easy to leave somebody that you love. It's not easy to grieve somebody that passed away. Nothing is easy in life. Life is not meant to be easy, and life isn't fair. I was continuously living for other people and I wasn't living for myself. I noticed that I am only 21 and I haven't lived a long life, but if I'm realizing this now and I can't grasp onto it, I would rather know now than learn this years later. So I've always been grateful for every experience that I went through, every heartbreak that I went through, every friendship fallout that I've had, every person that I've gained in my life, every good, bad, sad, annoying moment that I've had in my life. I've continuously, it's hurt me. It's felt like the whole world was on my shoulders at one point, and it felt like I could never satisfy people. But one thing that I know is you have to feel like you're alone or you're lost, because I know what that feels like, and it sucks. It's the worst feeling you could possibly feel in this entire world. And you don't always have to be a victim for everything. Sometimes you can wake up and not want to do nothing, but you also have to put in your mind that you are the only person that can change what you're doing. You are the only person that is capable of changing what you should be doing in life. And if you want to succeed in the future, you can't keep sitting and dwelling. A lot of people that say it's easier said than done, but all it literally takes is you wanting to be better and you wanting to succeed. And no matter how many times we've tried to act like we hate people and life is so horrible and so ugly, there's really the little things in life that can make you enjoy life itself. But you have to be willing to put that foot forward and want to. You can't keep complaining, and you can't keep talking negatively, and you can't keep saying, why me, why this, if you really don't want to do anything. You just want somebody to tell you, like, okay, like, I'm sorry, that sucked, do you need anything else? Like, I'm sorry, like you want somebody to feel bad for you. For what? When You go home later that night, you just complained about everything, but now you're gonna wake up and do the same thing all over again. Like, be the change in the world that needs to happen. Because it can literally, all it has to do is start with one person. No matter what you're doing. You could be working a 9 to 5, you could be trying to start your own business, you could trying to figure out what you want to do after your 20s, after you graduate high school, after you just finish college. I mean, mental health will always be around. It will always be something that continuously changes years and years to come. I mean, just like technology, mental health is gonna keep getting heard of and more seen. And I feel like when people will only take it more seriously if something happens to them or within their life where they want to start advocating for mental health, when even if you don't deal with it, somebody around you is, and somebody's crying out for help, and even if you don't think that's a cry for help, it most likely is. So I highly recommend checking on your loved ones, checking on people, even if it's just a simple text, even if it's just a simple call. You're not God, so don't judge people. That is the most horriblest thing you can do in this world, is judge other people when nobody is better than anybody at all. I don't care who you are, or even if you have the most money in the world, or even if you are married to the most richest, nicest human being in the planet, and even if you have the best partner or anything like that, like, if you really don't change within yourself or change anything that happens with you, you'll never be happy, and you'll never understand life the way that life is supposed to be understood. Life is unpredictable, life is unfair, and life throws curveballs at you every fucking day of your life. I'm not comfortable with the knowledge of death and knowing that everybody has their time, regardless if you are 25, regardless if you're a 7-year-old kid, regardless if you're an 85-year-old man. Like, anybody could go off the earth any day. Your life isn't promised here. You are not promised to stay on this earth. You don't have a golden ticket, and you're not getting points in order to live here. So, really go out in the world and be great and do great things and make other people happy so they can go make other people happy, so the world could be happy. Because I noticed, I highly recommend cherishing every single moment you have with any person in your life and making new memories and just enjoying yourself and not try to kill your own mind, and understand that we're all just trying to get by. We're all trying to understand this whole life situation. Mental health is a very serious topic, and I really hope maybe this video can show people that no matter who you are, no matter what your situation is, there is a light at every single end of the tunnel, even if it might be dark as hell, and even if you feel like there's no way out of anything. Because at the age that I am now, I look back at little 15-year-old Kathy or 14-year-old me, and I sit there and I'm just like, girl, talk your shit, okay? Because one thing I am for sure is I'll keep fighting until I can't anymore. And when I thought I was gonna lose it all, and when I thought I was gonna end it, and I thought I was okay with whatever life handed to me, I was just like, I will figure it out, and I will be okay. And it's actually, I don't think I've actually had a hospital trip in maybe like 2 years maybe now. So I definitely am very proud of where I'm at, where I'm going to be, push myself, as you should too, to be better than you were. I always hope that the world changes for something good one day to relate to, and you shouldn't feel like you have to take on the world all on your own. I'm just now learning that, so I'm not a pro. Like I always say, I'm not a guru, I'm not a life coach, I'm not a licensed therapist. I am literally just a 21-year-old girl trying to figure out life. And with everything that I've been through, I feel like the more obstacles I get in life and the more that I conquer them, the more I feel unstoppable. So yeah, it might suck for a little bit, and yeah, it might be rough for some time, but there's always something good gonna come out of a lot of situations, even if you don't think so. So with that being said, thank you for watching as always. I appreciate every single one of you. Please be kind to people. Please share a smile from time to time. Enjoy life as much as you can. Be at peace with a lot of things that you can't change. Mental health is a real thing. Take it very seriously. We are constantly losing people every single day due to suicide or because of everybody putting on a persona that you have to be this hard person that gets through life and you don't need anybody and everything in the world is just blah, I guess you could say, but it really just takes one person to do something different and make a change. So I really hope that's what my podcast does for everybody. And yeah, so thank you for watching Out of My Mind. As always, I'm your host, and we